So I met a guy last week whose mind was almost was figuratively blown when I had to inform him that we were actually arming and funding ISIS and Al Qaeda terrorists in Syria. What? And called me a conspiracy theorist. Called me. People love to call you Alex Jones now. People love to. As soon as they don't like what you're saying, they call you a conspiracy theorist, or they'll call you.
Which, of course, is very flattering. He's your favorite comedian, so
He is.
You,
by the
you
way,
take the honor.
He's my favorite performance artist. There's no one even a close second, and so I just want to show you a fun article from last year. So we're in Syria at the behest of Saudi Arabia and Qatar, who offered to pay for it. Meaning, hey, if you use your military and get some of your United States citizens killed, and you kill a bunch of people in Syria and you overthrow Assad and we can put our pipeline through it, we'll pay all the costs for your military. They said that. John Kerry reported that Saudi Arabia had made that offer because he was trying to convince people that they were serious about overthrowing Assad. So why do I tell you all this? This is from last year. This is from March 27th, 2016. I found this article. I thought it was interesting. It says, in Syria, militias armed by the Pentagon fight those armed by the CIA. Mm-hmm. So not only are we trying to knock off Assad, and we're supposed to be fighting Al-Qaeda and Al-Nusra and ISIS, but now part of the terrorists that we're funding are fighting each other. Not only are the Syrian army fighting the terrorists that we're in bed with, that we're supposed to be fighting, but then the people who we're supposed to be fighting are now fighting each other. Well, here we go. Here's some of that. It says Syrian militias armed by different parts of the U.S. war machine have begun to fight each other on the plains between the besieged city of Aleppo and the Turkish border, highlighting how little control the United States intelligence officers and military planners have over the groups they have financed and trained in the bitter 5-year-old civil war. So these same jagoffs who destabilized the Middle East on purpose, gave us an occupying force in Afghanistan for 2 decades almost now, overthrew Saddam Hussein, turn that into a state that's more friendly and more influenced by Iran. Did the same thing in Libya, turned that into a haven for terrorists, failed state. Now they want to do the same thing in Syria. They have no idea how to fix the stuff after it. We're still in Iraq. We're still trying to fix our goof up in Iraq because we did that. Because we did what we were trying to do in Syria. What they're trying to do in Syria, we already did in Iraq and Libya, and we're still trying to clean it up. 13 years later, we're still trying to clean it up. And you know how we clean it up? Bombs. That's how you fix stuff. Bombs. So the fighting has intensified over the last 2 months as CIA armed units and Pentagon armed ones have repeatedly shot at each other while maneuvering through contested. Come on, that's funny. Come on, no one else thinks that's funny? You guys don't think that's funny?
Yeah, I do.
That's funny.
Especially when you are able to see it in this. It's troubling.
In mid-February, a CIA-armed militia called Fursan al-Haq, or Knights of Righteousness, sounds like gangs now in L.A., the Knights of Righteousness, was run out of the town of Maria, about 20 miles north of Aleppo, by Pentagon-backed Syrian Democratic forces moving in from Kurdish-controlled areas to the east. The attacks by one U.S.-backed group against another come amid continuing heavy fighting in Syria and illustrate the difficulty facing U.S. efforts to coordinate among dozens of armed groups that are trying to overthrow the government of President Bashar Assad. Fight the Islamic State militant group and battle one another all at the same time. The CIA, meanwhile, has its own operations center inside Turkey from which it has been directing aid to rebel groups in Syria, providing them with TOW anti-tank missiles from Saudi Arabian weapons stockpiles.
It's like a really, really bad soap opera, only it's not a soap opera. It's a war, so much worse. And it's just like at the end of it, they're going to be like, wait, you're sleeping with the United States? We're sleeping with the United States, but I thought we were sleeping with the United States. And it's like, yeah, this is what happens when it's been going on for 5 years.
This is like if Gilligan ran a war. Wait a minute, you're funding the al-Nusra, we're funding the Al-Qaeda, you're funding the ISIS, we're funding the Levant Front. The CIA, so there you go. While the Pentagon's actions are part of an overt effort by the U.S. and its allies against Islamic State, the CIA's backing of militias is part of a separate covert U.S. effort aimed at keeping pressure on the Assad government in hopes of prodding the Syrian leader to the negotiating table. They don't want him to come to the negotiating table. They want to get rid of him. Anyway, that's just funny. That's from last year. That's from March 2016. That's pure comedy. You know, that's when I grew up, they used to say things like, when you say, oh, what's an oxymoron? They would say military intelligence. That was like a saying when I grew up. People would say that. What's an oxymoron? Military intelligence. But now all of a sudden, oh, we got the military, we better start bombing everyone. CIA said, and Russia, and then we got the gas, and we know exactly what we're doing this time, boy. Sure, we made a mistake in Iraq and killed 1 million people. Sure, we made a mistake in Libya, and we turned it into a failed state. Sure, we make mistakes. Sure, we're still in Afghanistan 18 years. Sure. Sure, we set the world on fire. Who cares?
We've changed this time. We're different now.
So I just wanted to remind everybody that the Pentagon-funded terrorists were fighting the CIA-funded terrorists in Syria. And it just goes to show you what little control the American intelligence has over what happened. You think we can't even bring clean water to fucking Flint, Michigan? You think we're going to be able to sort out the shit in Syria? Jesus H. And by the way, again, this will be another one of those videos. The advertisers don't want me to talk about it like this. They're very cool with how CNN and MSNBC talks about this stuff. And I'm sure there were ads in the Los Angeles Times where this article came from. But they know nobody reads the paper. So they don't know. Is that, I don't know. So what Steph, what do you think about that?
Every time I see any of this, I keep thinking, why are we in the Middle East?
Why are we there? So it's crazier than you think, right? So it's much worse than people think, and it doesn't make me And this is straight from the Los Angeles Times. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but if I tell people this, they'll go, "What are you, a conspiracy theorist?" Yeah, I am. I've been reading the L.A. Times. Yeah, I've been getting my information straight from the L.A. Times because
which is funded by the Kremlin.
Oh, that's puppets of the Kremlin. You can't trust them. So lots of these stories actually do sneak into the press. Like the story about the Clinton Foundation getting millions of dollars from the Russian Kremlin bank, and the money pouring in over that plutonium deal that Hillary and Bill helped set up for Russia to take over 20% of the plutonium production in United States. So that actually appeared in the New York Times too. It's just what they emphasize. So the way propaganda works, George Bush told us that, is you have to keep launching it over and over and over. So like this story, that's a one and done. With the LA Times. They're in, they're out. That's not the front page story every day. Hey, why are we doing this? Why do we keep funding our terrorist people we're supposed to be fighting? That's not the story. The story is butcher, 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 Assad, butcher, and he's killing his own people. We have to help. That's the story that's told over and over, not this story. So it's all on what you want to focus. Mort Saul used to come on talk shows in the 70s, and he would bring up a stack of newspapers, and he would tell people, it's all in the newspaper. Here it is right here, here's there. And he would show you, but it's not on the front page. It's on page 18. It's back there, and it's not every day, and they don't put it. You know what should be the headline on the New York Times every day? 45 million Americans live in poverty in the richest country in the world. Hey, 33,000 people die from lack of health care. Every year on the rich. How many people? I don't even know if that's the accurate number. So there you go. And you wonder why people turn to YouTube to get their news.